Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray and Craig Burley here in the studio. A little later on, Shaka Hislop will be joining us as we look ahead to the weekend. And that's just what we'll be doing here as well, because El Clasico is coming up on Sunday. The countdown to kickoff is on, and there's been drama before a ball has even been kicked. These are the Spanish sports dailies today. Lamin's Clasico, says Mundo Deportivo. As for sport, it says Lamin heats up the Clasico. Well, what's this in reference to? It's in reference to something he's been talking about on a YouTube channel. On Madrid, he said they always get the calls, they always complain. Let's welcome in our team in Madrid now. Alex Kirkland, Mario Suarez and Luis Garcia. And I suppose I should start, Alex, by asking you where this came from, because it is a comparison and there is some context to it.
Hello, Kay. Yeah, it's worth giving some context because this isn't just Lamine Yamal hitting out at Real Madrid. This is Lamine Yamal appearing on a YouTube show promoting the Kings League, which is Gerard Piqué's alternative football league. Lamine Yamal is now involved in that league. He has a team. It's a 20-minute interview in which they cover kind of all kinds of subjects. The tone is light-hearted. He gets lots of things thrown at him. It's quite a kind of informal setting. And one of the questions during that interview is someone saying, it makes kind of a throwaway comment, is this rival team, which is presided over by a very popular streamer here in Spain, are they like Real Madrid? Are they kind of the Kings League version of Real Madrid? And in that context, Lamine Yamal says, yeah, you know, they rob and they complain and things like that. But it's one throwaway line, which, like I say, isn't even directly talking about Real Madrid. Nonetheless, of course, in the context of just a day or two before the Clasico, it's the kind of thing that's going to make headlines. What do we think about this, guys? Luis, do you have any problem with Lamine saying something like this at a time like this?
No, I think, yeah, of course, the time is not the best one. I think that right now, Lamine Yamal is under the microscope. Everything that he does, everything that he's going to mention is going to look and explode in different ways. People will have... I'm not trying to say or saving him for what he says. I wouldn't do that. I think he's young. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make comments that people is not going to enjoy. He will come for a time that he understands and he will mature at some point. He's still a young kid. This is a new generation.
One thing's for sure, Kay. I mean, there's no possible way that any more spotlight can be on Lamine Yamal than was already going to be the case, because we're talking about right now one of the absolute best players in the world, in the biggest fixture in the world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of those comments?
Mario's 20 years older than Lamine Yamal. I need to start counting my fingers, see how much older I am. I don't even want to tell you how much older I am than Lamine Yamal, but I agree with the guys. It's a flippant comment. He's a youngster. He's pretty much had a very good time against Real Madrid, particularly last season when they won all 4 games. He played great. But I think when you get burnt in big games, you learn to not give the opposition anything. I remember playing in Celtic Rangers games and you did not want to give your opposition anything to get them up. And you learn that as you go along, and you learn that in defeat sometimes, to think, OK, I've got to let my football do the talking. He has done that, and I think here, you know, he's probably just a throwaway comment. But you know what the media is like these days. Newspapers have always been like it, but the social media picks it up. The newspapers run with headlines, and they will run it as far as they can to take the context of what he said as far as they can to build a story. And sometimes that can annoy other teams, but I think there are bigger fish to fry for Real Madrid than worrying about what Lamine Yamal is saying. The biggest worry for them is actually trying to stop Lamine Yamal on the field.
Yes, obviously. And then Barcelona will be having to cope with Madrid superstar in this Clasico as well. That is, of course, Kylian Mbappe, already heading into his 5th Clasico. And just his first season at Real Madrid, Kylian Mbappe faced Barcelona 4 times in all competitions and lost all 4. However, he did have 5 goals in the last 3 of them, but you'll probably remember the first of them. It was a year ago. It was at the Santiago Bernabeu, and he was offside 8 times in that game. Obviously, things have changed since then. He's been absolutely brilliant this season. And
it seemed like he was off 8 times in the first half, but it probably wasn't correct. But they left so much space for him to run into. He was just, I think, too anxious, and he was making those runs too early. Look, if you look at his numbers for last year, his numbers are actually pretty good for a first season. The performances were not always there, but the numbers were decent. This year, thus far, and at the end of last year, we saw both. We're seeing the numbers from the goals, we're seeing the performances, we're seeing a better work rate. We're seeing a player who I think felt the pressure of going to Real Madrid, which is understandable, even for somebody, you know, you could argue is the best in the world. But now he's got his chest puffed out. When Vinicius Junior is floundering, when Rodrigo's out the side as he is, when Jude Bellingham's having the operation, he's not quite fit, when Mastantuano's finding his feet, when all these things are happening, he has stood up for Xabi Alonso. He has said, I'm the man, I will get the job done. Make sure you play me in the right position. Make sure you get the service to me. He looks super sharp. He's making great runs. He's dribbling with the ball. His finishing is excellent. He's everything Real Madrid would hoped he would be. It's taken him a bit of time. Unfortunately, some others around him are not quite performing, and that's an issue for Xabi Alonso to find the balance. And there's some problems at the other end of the field with the defence and the injuries. But in terms of Kylian Mbappe, he has puffed his chest out and said, if you get the right players around me, I will deliver for this football club. And his form at the start of the season has been absolutely brilliant. It's great to see. Not if you're a Barcelona fan and not if you're a Barcelona defender, but from a neutral point of view, it's just great to see how he's playing.
That point to prove, though, because he's going to want that win against Barcelona now. He's faced them all these times and lost all 4, even though he's been delivering in the last few.
We just saw a couple of clips from the first game where we saw in that little clip the space that Barcelona were leaving and how the pass was either delayed a little bit or more to the point, Mbappe made his run a little bit early. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not just about Mbappe, it's about the team and it's about winning. But a big part of that is Mbappe playing well, is Mbappe performing now. He can't do anything if Asensio plays and makes a mistake, or Militao or Howson's back and is nervous, or Carreras. If they defend Real Madrid, that is, the way they defended in the Madrid derby, where every cross into the box, they were in trouble. Now, Real Madrid don't have an Alexander Sørloth. Barcelona don't have a Alexander Sørloth up front. They don't really have that physicality, but they struggled with the Atletico Madrid physicality. This is a different facet in how you have to defend. Mario's right. The one way you deal with it is you drop off and you deny the space. But guess what? Barcelona, to hell and high water, are not going to do that, because Hansi Flick has said from day one, we will not change. They just have to play it better than they have this season. Now, Martinez went to Saudi Arabia last year. He was the organiser. He was the guy that dictated when they squeezed up and when they dropped and when they really came out at pace. He's not there anymore, and they've found it a problem to get somebody to marshal the back four. And when you don't have an experienced player to marshal the back four as a unit, then you see the problems that Barcelona have had this season. Almost every team that's played against them has ripped them apart. Even Girona, second bottom of the league, last weekend should have been 4-1 up at half-time. 4 clear-cut chances. Mbappe will not give up chances like that if he can find that space in behind.
Yes, will Mbappe be able to do that this weekend on Sunday? You'll be able to find out on ESPN Plus, ESPN2 and Deportes. Our coverage will begin at 10 a.m. Eastern. Does he start, Craig?
I think he does, but I think he's definitely drinking in the last chance saloon, or he's very close to it. Big star or not, he's not playing well enough. He's not pulling his weight, and they need to win games, because, you know, Arsenal are in great form. If they win again at the weekend, and Liverpool drop more points, then that gap increases, and it's very difficult to bridge that. And I think the Mo Salah situation with his form, which seems to be the big talking point for us and in England and at the press conferences, is maybe stopping some of the journalists saying to Arne Slot, what about your team selection? Why is Ekitike on the bench when he's been your best player and Alexander Isak plays? Now, that may change at the weekend, because Alexander Isak finished or came off in the Champions League game with a groin injury, so that decision may be made for him. But he's got that wrong. He didn't introduce Florian Wirtz in the Manchester derby when that was where the space was. I think he got that wrong. So maybe the Mo Salah isn't playing well. This is all Liverpool's problems. Once he's back scoring goals, everything will be hunky-dory. It's not quite the case, because the manager has struggled, I think, to put Liverpool's best team on the pitch to get the results. Now, he thinks he's putting the best team on. Clearly, every manager does. But I don't think he has. And if I was Hugo Ekitike, having started the way I have for Liverpool at a new club from the Community Shield onwards, I would be peeved. What did Alexander Isak cost? 100 million, 150 million? I don't care. He was the guy with the jersey. He was the guy scoring goals. He was the guy who was the biggest threat. And then their two of their biggest games, Chelsea away and Manchester United at home, he left him out. So it's not just Mo Salah, I think, here. It's the problem with the manager. But of course, if Mo Salah has another stinker, if he plays, and Liverpool drop points, that's where the headlines will go. And it's maybe taking a little bit of heat, or certainly questions, away from Arne Slot's team selection.
No, I agree. Listen, I think Ekitike starts. No question. He's been
because of the injury.
Or Ekitike starts because he's the best attacking player for Liverpool this season.
But he hasn't.
Agreed. Well, I mean, moving forward, in my opinion, Ekitike has this talent. He has been, without question, Liverpool's best attacking threat all season long. Now, the question then becomes, does Arne Slot play 3, play 2, or do something that we haven't seen him do for some time, just play the one up front? And that's where, well, both Alexander Isak and Mo Salah have not played well. So to Craig's point about Mo Salah maybe drinking in last chance saloon, if you had a viable contender, you could see that. But given Isak's own struggles, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And it really just comes down to Mo Salah's age and Alexander Isak's cost. And which way does Arne Slot go as a result? Now, again, we've had this conversation about Mo Salah time and time again in Liverpool, going through lean spells, and then all of a sudden he lights the league alight. So you want to feel that it happens again. That time will come where it doesn't. But as of right now, you're still backing Mo Salah to do Mo Salah things.
In all fairness to him, though, I think there's no doubt about it. Some of the threat has been negated on that right-hand side by the fact that Alexander-Arnold has gone to Real Madrid. When you have such an attacking player with the prowess and the passing ability of an Alexander-Arnold who can bend balls in and play balls over the top for you, you're going to get more service. That has gone, so that adds a bigger pressure on Mo Salah to perform with a Conor Bradley, who's a good player, but he isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Dominic Szoboszlai, who's gone back there, or indeed Jeremy Frimpong, who I don't think they've worked out, is he a right winger yet, or a right wing back, or a right back, but that's another story. Going back to Slot, I think when he comes in off the back of Jurgen Klopp, that's a difficult pair of shoes to fill. And he did a great job, but there was less to tinker with. There was less decisions had to be made. How do I get a bit of Ryan Gravenberch? How do I get a bit of this? How do I get a bit of that? But within reason, that 11 was on the field most weeks, certainly early in the season. Now he has more now he has many more decisions than he had last year.
So obviously Frimpong injured in this game, so he's not going to be available at the weekend against Brentford. We've seen Florian Wirtz in this game. He had a couple of assists as well, Craig. Yeah. How does this team change this weekend against Brentford?
Well, look, I thought the ideal time to get him back in was maybe not Chelsea away, which he didn't, but it was Man United at home, which he didn't. And Brentford away, it's going to be more physical. It's going to be long balls. They're going to sit in. They're going to sit in and defend a little deeper, and then when they do win it, they're going to try and hit that ball over the top like they did against Manchester United to some success. But when the team sits in, like I think Brentford will, you need somebody that can pick those little holes. But the ball he played for Gakpo across was, I can't resist it sometimes.
I'm laughing at him.
I love using the word nerd. It just gets them going. Those people sat there. But, the ball he played for Gakpo across, he can do that with his eyes closed. So, yeah, at some point, you're going to want to get Florian Wirtz into your team, into form, with a continuous run of games to build up his confidence. And the sooner they do that, I think, the better.
Look, I'm in no position to say that Florian Wirtz is struggling with confidence. But certainly, given the performance against Leverkusen, the 2 assists, you've got to keep him on the park. You want to get the best version of Florian Wirtz. Frankfurt, excuse me. You want to get the best version of Florian Wirtz performing for Liverpool, and you kind of saw after he came off the bench against Liverpool that little turn flick that played Mo Salah and really should have done better. But that's the Florian Wirtz that and that Liverpool thought they were buying. So you want to keep him in this momentum of playing well, of being creative, of being that player. And as a result, Arne Slot has to play him against Brentford. Whether that suits, whether Brentford style suits Florian Wirtz or not, you've got to get him on the park in this moment, kind of give him the form that he's shown over recent weeks. Even in some of the more disappointing results, I think his performances have slowly gotten better.
Let me stick with you, Shaq, because Arne Slot was also talking about the form and fitness of Alexander Isak and how it's been disrupted this summer at a smaller club. He said you cannot compare maybe a player who hasn't trained or played in pre-season at a smaller club than if you go to Liverpool. Well, this is what Eddie Howe has responded with.
I think the setup here is very good. It's not perfect, we've got things to improve and to grow, but the club and the owners here have developed the facilities since I've been here very, very well, and I know there's huge, you can see there's building work going on currently to hopefully help us deliver even better in the future, but I've got no complaints. We've got elite athletes here, many of them, and touch wood, we're managing them pretty well at the moment.
Shaka, is Arne Slot blaming Liverpool
No.
for Isak's form and fitness?
No, credit Eddie Howe for not taking the bait. First of all, Alexander Isak didn't have a pre-season with Newcastle United. So in talking about having a pre-season at a smaller club, it doesn't apply certainly this season to Alexander Isak because he chose to stay away and train on his own. So I think the first part of Arne Slot's comments is geared towards Alexander Isak, and we all say it all the time. You can train as much as you like. That cannot replicate games. Pre-season games cannot replicate Premier League games when they run around, when it truly matters. Alexander Isak had neither. And as a result, it's kind of struggled. But at the same time, Alexander Isak has got this kind of injury history to him. In 3 years at Newcastle, he missed 38 games through injuries. That's almost an entire league season. So that speaks to maybe his frailty. And while it's gotten better with each season, he does spend a lot of time on the sidelines. And of course, not having a pre-season hasn't helped his form. And that, especially given Mo Salah's own struggles, has been a huge problem for Arne Slot in Liverpool.
Well, if there was an issue, which there was, with Alexander Isak's pre-season, which was well documented, or lack of pre-season, why is Arne Slot playing him? I could understand playing him if you didn't have Ekitike. You didn't have a striker and you wanted to get him in the side and you don't really have much choice. But he's not in that situation. He's got two. He's got two number 9s. One a little bit more versatile than the other. I think Ekitiki's a little bit more versatile. But he's got two guys that can play that position. And he's talking about his pre-season wasn't ideal, and yet he's put him in early season in the two biggest games. Doesn't make sense. Almost feels like he felt pressured to get him in the team. And not only is that detrimental to Isak's confidence, it's detrimental to the mindset now of Ekitike, who's... And this happens as a player. If you go on the field and you play like how he has played for your new club, and then somebody comes in, playing in your position for big money, is not fit, but goes straight into the team and doesn't perform, and then goes back in the team the following big game, you're in the dressing room and you go home, you go, what the hell? What do I need to do? So you then cause an issue with two players, one lacking confidence and one now pretty upset with the manager, who he might not say it, and he hasn't said anything, hasn't come out and said, I think if it was me, I'd be going, knocking the manager's door down, trying to play. So that's why I go back to some of Arne Slot's decisions with the new players, where he's played them and moving Szoboszlai to right back and all that, and he's done okay. These kind of things with Wirtz and Ekitike and Szoboszlai, they're just little cracks that are appearing in his decision-making that he didn't have to make last year because he didn't have the amount of squad, he didn't have these big signings. So I go back to it, within reason, if everybody was fit, he could pretty much put the same group of players on the field, which was to their detriment the longer the season went on, because I think some of those players got tired because there wasn't the rotation. Now he has the players for the rotation, but he's struggling to find the right balance within the first 11. And that, I think, is where we're going to find out about Arne Slot, particularly with the pressure on, with Arsenal winning and with City winning. And Liverpool can ill afford at the weekend to drop any more points.
Yeah. Well, let's get your predictions, because we asked all of you. We even called Stevie to get his prediction for the weekend, and everybody's gone for 2-1 for Liverpool.
Well, when you watch a game with Stevie and Mo Salah's having a good game, it's something to behold. When you're watching a game with Stevie and Mo Salah's having a bad game, it's off the Richter scale.
Leave the room, basically. Now, Craig just mentioned Manchester City. Obviously, they've been resurgent of late. I think it's 10 without losing now in a row. So things are looking better for Pep Guardiola's men. This weekend, they are coming up against Aston Villa. And our Rob Dawson sat down with Josko Gvardiol to speak more about City right now.
People want to talk about Arsenal and Liverpool a bit, but quietly City are kind of, winning games and going on a run. Does it feel in the dressing room that maybe you're going under the radar a bit, that people are underestimating what this group is capable of a little bit?
I would say at the beginning of the season you could feel it. You could feel it. It was just about Liverpool and Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, after the round we have now, I think everyone is getting aware again that we are still here. That we're not just gonna give up, because obviously the season is long. So. Lots of games to play, and yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting season. I think each season is even more and more interesting and harder.
So they're looking to make it unbeaten in 10. Are they going under the radar at the moment?
Not really. I mean, I think there's still questions about how the defence is going to hold up over a course of a full season, and of course, when you have somebody in the form of Erling Haaland, that helps. Now, I know there's been a conversation on this show about, are they too reliant on Erling Haaland? Well, we'll find out. I mean, the chances are Erling Haaland, which will please Jan, is going to probably continue the way he is, because if you look at his numbers in previous years, he's got a lot of goals. So I don't think, barring injury, that's going to dry up. But can he score enough to offset the fact he might not be getting it from other places in the team? Well, that remains to be seen. But the big issue for me still is they play better teams. And I think the boys were talking about it last weekend, if buts and maybes, but Everton could have been 2-0 up before that game changed and went the other way. That's the big question. The big question is, when it gets to the crux and the crunch, have they done enough defensively to go over 38 games? I'm not yet quite convinced.
To your question, I do think City are flying a little bit under the radar. I think a lot of the conversation has been about Liverpool and their poor form compared to last season and struggles of the new signings, etc., etc. And Arsenal have looked the most complete team in the league by some stretch. Yet still we're talking about a City team who, well, it's Erling Haaland and 10 others at this point. But are just 3 points behind Arsenal in the table. Now, the question remains, kind of given their performances, is this more the City of last season or City of 2 seasons ago? The City of 2 seasons ago, come January, February, you needed an 8-10 point buffer. Otherwise, they'd run you down like the back end of the season, like nobody else could. Obviously, not the City of last season. So that's the kind of big question. Right now, I still think they are nowhere near yet to back to the team that we saw 2 seasons ago. So while they're better, they're not good enough to run down this version of Arsenal. But again, all that being said, they're still 3 points behind. And that's the kind of amazing thing, kind of given the conversations that we've been having all season long.
Now, despite...
Can we define? Somebody define for me flying under the radar, because it's kind of annoying me.
I feel like when we're talking about league,
how can you spend the amount of money they've spent over the years? Because they had because last year they fell off a cliff.
Right.
It just came along and they went down. They went for the parachute and there was no parachute. They just kept going. But they have a guy who has been reported. Many have thought he's been the best manager in the world. He certainly wasn't last year, but he has been there. How can you have a team with these superstars? Are we saying there's no expectation for them?
We shouldn't, but when we talk about the title race, we're usually saying it's between Liverpool and Arsenal. If you look at our pre-season predictions, was anybody picking Man City to do this season? And now people are talking about them perhaps being back in the chance to win the title here.
Well, and they should. And they should. with the manager and with the budget they have and some of the players. Now, if they go and buy Art-Nouri from Wolves and he can't play, he's not very good at left back because he's not great defensively, or they play, Matheus Nunes at right back now and again because they don't. That's their choice. That is their choice. You cannot not expect them, and I don't think they'll win the title, but you cannot expect them and give them a free pass and say, if they finish third or fourth, that'll be okay. Not with the money they have spent, not with the squad they have accumulated. And just because they had a bad season last year doesn't mean they should be under pressure to perform better this season, which they have thus far in the main. I
still think City finished top 3, no question about it. They did last year, and as I said, I think they're better than what we saw last year. But I say fly under the radar because the conversations we have around winning the title is about Arsenal and whether they can throw it away. It's Arsenal or Arsenal as their own worst enemy. Less about City kind of running them down, less about whether City can do as we'd seen in the seasons gone by.
Nobody's frightened of City these days.
Correct.
They're not the juggernaut.
But is that an issue?
For who?
Is that an issue for the teams that maybe they should be more frightened of what City are doing right now, that they might be coming back?
No. For me, the frightening part about Manchester City is Erling Haaland. And right now, I mean, after that, Phil Foden, I don't think is the player that he was 2 seasons ago. He's better than he was last year. Reinders has kind of been all right. But it's all the talk is about Erling Haaland. And dare I say Gigi Donnarumma. Other than that, there's not that much to be worried about. There's not that much that can absolutely scare you. Or these same players that scared you 2 seasons ago are not scaring other teams in the Premier League this season.
And do you think they're going to drop points this weekend against a Villa side who themselves have had a good winning run? They lost midweek, they dropped players in Europe, but do you think there's going to be problems here for City?
I thought Villa did a decent job at Spurs last weekend. Didn't outplay Spurs, but I thought they got a little stronger. They have had a very slow start to the season, and I just feel that they'll be a more difficult nut to crack for Manchester City this weekend. And Morgan Rogers scored a great goal last week. They got some flair players. Buendia came off the bench and scored. Very well, organised manager. So I could see that being a sort of a tight affair. If that back four can handle, and it's a big if, can handle Erling Haaland.
Okay. Another big game coming up this weekend for Manchester United as we look at if they can build on that win over Liverpool. There's a clash with Brighton. They are favourites coming into it. You're going to have to build on what we saw last week, Shaka. You don't look confident.
In Manchester United, why should I be? Listen, again, Manchester United have this way of just getting results exactly when they need it. And then against, quote-unquote, lesser opponent. I say quote-unquote because, I guess historically maybe Brighton is a lesser opponent, but certainly not over the last few years. And Brighton have shown that they can match you almost in any way you want to play this game. They can sit deep, they can hit on the counter-attack, they can pass through your press. And again, these are the moments when Manchester United are feeling at their brightest, when they had a couple of good results, and they absolutely have, that they sometimes come unstuck. More times than not, come unstuck. And I think Brighton are far too good a team for Manchester United to take lightly, to be anything less than their best selves. And I think Brighton gets something out of this.
Well, Brighton are one of the teams that beat that under-the-radar team.
Well, which one is that? There's many teams on the
Manchester City.
No one's talking about them.
Well, it was at home, and it was at the Amex, it was in Brighton. But they took them apart in the second half. I mean, they just showed the flaws in that Man City defence. Now, United should be emboldened by their performance last week. It's 2 wins in a row, first time they've done it for I don't know how long. The performance was good last week, the shape was good, they were a threat to Liverpool, they exposed Liverpool's deficiencies. But that was more about being organised and compact. You just feel at Old Trafford, the crowd kind of pushed them to come out and play a bit more, and then that's when they cough the ball up and they come unstuck. So they get caught betwixt and between sometimes what they want to be. They knew what they had to do last week, which was defend well and hit Liverpool on the counter. They're not really going to get away with that at Old Trafford against a good Brighton side. They're up and down. You never really know what you're going to get. But let's just say one thing. It is a much better scenario turning up at Old Trafford over this weekend than it would have been 3 or 4 weeks ago. So they've got that going for them. I just feel this will be a tight affair as well.
Okay, you've both got a draw.
Yeah, we've got
Manchester United against Brighton.
Yeah, no, I've gone for a draw because I think Brighton are a good side, and I think United are puffing their chest out a little bit. But as Shaq said, it's the consistency that they've struggled with.
All right, Shaq, the two.
You're very confident.
Confidence in them, hasn't they?
Okay, all right.
2 goals in this one.
You don't have to, you know.
Trying to get on the United fans. Good side, I will.
The leaders Arsenal are up against Crystal Palace. Looking ahead to this one, you wonder right now if this version of Arsenal are going to have no problem against Crystal Palace.
Oh, I think it'll be a problem in terms of it's not going to be simplistic. You roll up and an easy 3 points. Not against this Palace side. Super well organised. Glasner's done a great job. Did lose 3 goals last week, I believe, which was not quite like them, and a 3-3 draw, I think it was, if memory serves me right. But if the game becomes physical, we talked about this in midweek. Palace are a physical side, well organised, but we discussed Arsenal in midweek. The strings to their bow can outplay teams, can outrun teams. If they want to have a fight in a physical game, they can do that because they have the players to do it, particularly with Gyökeres up front, who got his 2 goals in midweek and had a very good performance. So
it's too good for Palace any day, I think.
Okay, we've all got Arsenal winning this game against Crystal Palace, and we've all got them not conceding again as well. Shaka, even more confident than Craig and me. So, extra time. These two will be answering your questions on the latest edition. Make sure to check it out every single day over on our YouTube channel. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Just Craig and Shaka answering your questions tonight. We're starting very
Imagine
strong.
when they ask people to come on this show, it was like, oh, he'll just shout at me.
which is probably true, given
the history.
Given your history of shouting at people.
Wow.
Well, he's actually been one of the more mild-mannered members of the panel this week.
Oh, yes.
Excuse my grammar, but some people need to be shouted at.
Yes.
Some people shout at themselves.
And some people shout at the TV, Stevie Nicol, when Liverpool are playing.
We saw one of the top 10 meltdowns this week.
Oh, perfect.
Oh,
Segue.
sorry.
First question.
What?
Start, bench or sell funny moments on ESPN FC. Seb's meltdown, Stevie's haircut, or Jan versus the fish. And of course, we've got all 3 of them, just to remind you, so you can make the decision very well.
Well,
Here's Seb's meltdown.
Look at how aggressive he's already. Oh, God. Oh, goodness me.
Seb's meltdown, Stevie's haircut.
Jesus.
Oh, boy. Jeez.
And of course,
I didn't see that. Oh, jeez.
an all-time classic, Jan versus
Oh,
the fish.
this is.
Never
Oh,
not
boy.
funny.
Ah. Ah. If it was anything but a fish. Oh, God.
Look at this thing.
The fish is thinking I've got him here. I've got him on the sights.
He looks as if he's running. He looks as if he's running in quicksand.
Goodness me. Oh, God.
Do you remember you and I did a dummy run?
Oh, yeah. Right. Oh,
Right.
God.
So start, bench or drop.
Yeah.
So I'm dropping Stevie's haircut because it was fun. It was funny, but it was quite predictable that he goes in and he can't remember what number it was.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I normally get number 2." Sebi's meltdown. I'm going to bench because it was funny. It was brilliant.
It was brilliant.
And I'm starting Jan because that was. We
I don't know.
We got a week's worth out of that, didn't we?
Oh, we got
Those seasons were 2 seasons worth.
Still good. That's a good point. Maybe it's a little bit of recency bias, but Seb's meltdown still still has me in stitches.
It made him cry the second day running
It was
with laughter.
so. It was
Yeah,
so
because
funny.
Ali and I were watching it all unfold in front of us, and instead of helping him, we just
Stop picking him up. Look. Look how aggressive he is here. Oh, God.
instead of helping him, we're just laughing.
No, I'm starting semi. Oh, God. No.
Classics.
Oh, Jesus.
When he said, "Here's the Pepe goal now," finally, and it was, he went, "Yeah, here it is," and McTominay, he lost it.
No, I'm starting semis now.
Great question.
Oh, boy.
Okay. What are Liverpool players thinking, knowing they struggle against low block, long ball teams, and that's exactly Brentford? Also knowing Slot will not change tactics, only expecting Brentford to change for them.
Well, Chelsea wasn't a low block, long ball team, and they struggled in that game at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea were about pressing, about passing, about pace, and Liverpool really struggled to handle that. But I get what the question is, that a lot of teams that Liverpool will face, and Arsenal and probably City and one or two others, are going to sit very deep against them. That is when you have to be, as a midfielder and as a centre-back and a full-back, very aware. You can't switch off, which I think Liverpool have. You can't switch off and be like daydreaming, because as soon as you cough the ball up, Brentford will hit it in behind. And if you're daydreaming and you're not in position and you're not organising, which Van Dijk has to do better. You know, Van Dijk spent the game against Man United chucking Milos Kerkez under as many buses as he could. And I know he's not playing well, and I know it's been a struggle for him. But you don't really need your captain and your supposed leader kind of giving you that to the crowd every time you're in the wrong position or you don't make a good pass. So he's got to be a better organiser. But yeah, those teams that sit in, unlocking the defence. Florian Wirtz, Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo, whoever it is. So we'll see what the team selection is, whether he plays Florian Wirtz in this one. Again, if they're going to sit as deep as we think they are, Brentford, you need somebody that can play a pass.
But it's not as though these teams have all of a sudden started sitting deep. Liverpool won the league last season at an absolute canter against a lot of teams who were sitting deep. Arne Slot has got some work to do to fix this version of Liverpool. We gave him an awful lot of credit last season for the job that he did, and rightly so, and what he got at Gravenberch and everything that went along with last season. And rightly so, I think, much the same vein, you have to ask questions of him this season as to what he's doing to get Liverpool out of this relative slump of theirs.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him this weekend because of the form. Although they won against Eintracht Frankfurt quite comfortably, but as you mentioned when we were watching the game, they just cough up so many goals. Brentford sold the two best, well, arguably the two best players, sold Visa and sold Mbemo. They also, another Trojan for them was Norgard in the middle of the field. He went to Arsenal as a squad player. Keith Andrews has taken the job, and it's a big job for him, and he's lost a lot of these players. Yeah, they brought some in, but not the same quality. And they've turned Man United over this year, which I suppose is no great feat, but it's a big club, it's a big name. There's a lot of pressure, bearing in mind how weakened Brentford have been in the summer transfer window and how inexperienced their new manager is, even though he's been coaching for a while. There's a lot of pressure on Liverpool to get out of this slump, certainly the domestic slump. I think they will, but I'm not super confident about them these days with what I've seen in the last few games.
Which promoted side has impressed you more so far, Leeds or Sunderland?
Sunderland.
Yeah, probably Sunderland.
Well, they made the power rankings.
No, that's hurtful for me and you to say, Kay.
Well, they lost after they made the power rankings, but anyway.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
that was. I'll do that.
Leeds have had a great result today. I think Daniel Farke's a good manager. To be honest with you.
They can hit the streets again.
Sunderland have been, for me, the surprise package of the.
Agreed. I concur.
Okay. For Mr. Burley,
Well.
in two of the last three Clasicos, Real Madrid took the lead in the first 15 minutes. Despite this, they ended up losing both games. What's the key to maintaining the result if the same scenario occurs on Sunday?
Well, if you remember, they also took the lead in the Madrid derby at the Metropolitano. just a few weeks ago, and they lost
Got
5
slammed.
goals. I think it's simple, and Barcelona have the same issue. Is he has to get the midfield balance right, and they just have to defend better. They did not. They were defensively against Atletico Madrid, Huijsen in particular, and Carreras, 2 of the new boys, and that's kind of understandable. Probably the biggest game those boys have had for their club. They really struggled, and the back 4 struggled, and so I think when they've taken the lead in the game, not leaving themselves as open as they have would be a good idea. I mean, the final Clasico last year, they took the lead with 2 Mbappe goals. I don't think they left themselves open. I just think Barcelona turned up the wick, and it was something to watch, something to behold. Whether Barcelona can do that again, I don't know. But it's interesting they've taken the lead in a lot of these games, including that derby a few weeks ago, and they've lost them all.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely see what happens on Sunday. Shaq, what would you rate Arsenal centre-back pairing out of all Europe's top teams?
Right now? Right now, they're the best pairing in football today. I don't think there's any doubt to that. Saliba and Gabriel have been simply outstanding, and both ends of the park as well. At times, Arsenal have been fairly reliant on them, but I don't think there's a better centre-back pairing in world or European football right now.
You could argue that it's the best back 4 in European football right now, and that doesn't just mean it's Timber and it's Calafiori, because Lewis Skelly come in and does a great job as a youngster. So and you know, Ben White could come in at right back if necessary, like he has, not very often, and you could still put up an argument for them. So yeah, they're in, and we had a graphic the other day, but they've only lost 1 goal.
Yeah, 1 goal conceded.
That was Newcastle in the last 6 games, so they're in a good spot.
If Liverpool could undo either the signing of Isak or the re-signing of Mo Salah, which one would they undo?
I'd undo Isak and maybe revisit it next year. I think it would have been too premature to let Salah go this summer. But once you signed Ekitike, I didn't think there was a need for Isak. But still, you know, those wheels were turning, and they completed the signing, and now he struggled. So I feel if it would be easier, and in my mind, wiser to have just walked away from the Isak deal.
Fair. Who would you pick for El Clasico MVP? I'm going with Fermin Lopez.
Yeah, he had a very good Champions League night, didn't he, in midweek? And he looks like he's been preferred over Dani Olmo. That's a big call because it's a big game. I'm going to go for the obvious. I'm going to go for Mbappe. He scored. We were talking about it in the show. He didn't score in his first Clasico and scored in every other one, including 2 in the final one. And he's playing better than he was last year.
4-3 in the last one that you were at.
Did
he have a hat-trick in that one?
Did he?
I think so. Wasn't it 4-3 and the 3 goals were his?
Yeah, I was at the bar at that point.
There was 4 Clasicos last season. Give us a minute.
I left. I went to the other
Anyways,
side.
5 in 3, basically.
Yeah, he got a hat-trick at the game that I was at in Barcelona that I can't remember. And he's playing better this year. He's playing better than he was last year, and Barcelona are defending poorer than they were last year thus far. So for that reason, I'm going to go for another Mbappe standout performance.
Kylian Mbappe. Okay, boys.
You're going home tonight, by the way. You're in the early Bundesliga.
I am.
And you're still going home?
I am.
You're a Trojan.
That's all I got for you.
That's all I got for you.
Boys, do you think expected goals is a useful stat? And would Wenger's new offside rule make football better?
What's the new rule?
It's the player is only offside if the entire body is ahead of the last opponent.
It would bring more goals, if that's what you're asking. It's not going to bring any less controversy.
Well, what do you call it again? XG?
XG, times G.
Well, XG.
What was the game we had on? You were talking about it. It was like a 5-2 and the XG was 0.3 or some nonsense like that. One of the games in Europe this week had it was a ridiculous scoreline and the most ridiculous XG I've ever seen. I don't fully understand.
Well, XG has a, you know, for some people, like it gives you a little idea, but what it doesn't tell you, and I've had this, you know, it doesn't tell you who it tells you you're in a good position to score a goal. It doesn't tell you who the player is. Is it a defender that's in that position on his wrong foot? Is he injured? Is he tired? Is he fatigued? Is it 89th minute of the game? So it tells you, kind of tells you a little bit. It doesn't.
You know a lot about this XG. I am very impressed here, Craig.
No, I know what it is. You know, I'm a modern guy.
He even knows how to say it now.
Yeah,
I don't, you know, I think when you look at a graphic and you go, oh, there's a big difference between the teams and that, you know, it tells a story, but it certainly doesn't tell you all the story. I'm okay with stats. I mean, ever since I had a big argument with Gab Marcotti many years ago about the XG, some people got upset about it.
The nerds.
Some people even may have written to my boss asking for my immediate firing over it.
You know what you call that, Craig? Growth. You've grown over the years.
Well, my stomach has. If I breathe in, I'm all right.
Look at mature Craig.
You know, I just keep up with the young ones.
Look at mature Craig we've got.
Thank you so much for sending in your questions today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again.